In video games, the phrase less is more is rarely ever correct. As gamers, we always want more. More weapons, stages, bosses, characters, power-ups, you name it. But sometimes going back into an earlier game in a franchise can be a breath of fresh air to see when things were a little more straightforward, a little less complex, but just as fun. And that's what we'll be doing today with Māvuru Sūpā Hīrōzu for the PlayStation 1. And what was a precursor to the Marvel vs. Capcom series, Māvuru Sūpā Hīrōzu, is just that, a handful of Marvel characters in a Street Fighter-style 2D fighting game. It was originally released for arcades in 1995, then later received ports to the Sega Saturn and PlayStation 1 in 1997. You can play as Wolverine, Captain America, Spider-Man, Magneto, Shuma Gorath, the Hulk, Iron Man, Psylocke, Juggernaut, and Blackheart. Then you have two bosses in the arcade mode of Doctor Doom and Thanos. This is made by Capcom, so it uses the Street Fighter style commands. Down forward punch for a Hadouken, or in this case a shield throw by Captain America, and the rest is pretty much the same, just depending on the character. We do have the Infinity Stones in this game, however, which you can pick up and use throughout the fights, and each one does something different. Speed Gem makes you faster, Soul Gem restores your life, Power makes you stronger, etc. But certain characters will get sort of a special bonus depending on which gem they use. So when Juggernaut uses the Space Gem, which is armor, he becomes completely invincible. And when Psylocke uses the Power Gem, just sort of an after image. So in addition to the gems doing their own powers, having the match type to them and a specific character is pretty cool as well. There is an arcade mode and a verse mode, both of which are one-on-one fights, which is something that's always drawn me to this game in the series over that of some of the later entries. I think mostly because in the Marvel vs. Capcom series, you're constantly switching between characters as you have 3-on-3 battles, which in its own right is fun. It's just a different style. And you can always have some cool, awesome combos, but I've always preferred this game because I think it has a little more attention to detail. Each character has their own stage, and in between rounds it will do something unique, like Wolverine's stage will break apart and fall down, then the Hulk stage is this Ferris wheel and it'll start to spin faster, which I've just always found to be a nice touch. The graphics are what I've always felt is the pinnacle of Capcom character design, the 32-bit era sprites. Before everything started getting 3D models, games like Street Fighter Alpha, X-Men Children of the Atom, the sprites have always looked great. They have tons of frames of animation. There are even small things in this game, like on the character select screen, the names of the characters are in the fonts of their respective comics. It's just tiny little details in the graphics and overall presentation like this, which just really brings the whole game together. And then we have what I gush about every time, but that is the soundtrack. And I know I often come on and say, man, the soundtrack here is amazing, but this one here, I believe, is just insanely good, and I will just stop talking about it now and let you have a listen for yourself.
Let's rock! Round one, fight! Heel slap! Power! Heel slap! Gamma Crush! Rogon Cannon!
So if you want to play this today, you are looking at emulation, as always, or around $100 on eBay for a PlayStation 1 disc. But fortunately, it is also available for the Saturn, so you might be able to find better prices there, depending on what you can find out in the wild. It was at one point part of this Marvel vs. Capcom Origins Xbox Live PSN Store game, but as often as is with the case with those, especially licensed digital games, it has since been delisted. It also included Marvel vs. Capcom 1. You can always go further in the series, Māvuru Sūpā Hīrōzu vs. Street Fighter, there is X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and of course Marvel vs. Capcom 1, 2, 3, and Infinite. But the Marvel vs. Capcom games are all team-based fighters, so if you want to get your hands on Māvuru Sūpā Hīrōzu and give it a try, you can see where the series comes from. If you like this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button or check out our podcast on iTunes or come hang out on Twitch. We'll see you next time, and as always, thanks for watching.